time is 7:31. I will call the March 19th meeting of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please stand for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Manager Johnson.
Ms. Thompson,
Present.
Mr. Feiner, Mr. Stump, Ms. Siegel-Morris,
Present.
Ms. Scherer,
Present.
Mr. Carlson, and Mr. Applebaum.
Here.
With 6 members present, we have a quorum. Community announcements. Does any member first up at the table have any community announcements they'd like to share? Does any member of the public have any community announcements that you would like to share? Hearing none, this is public comment. If you have a comment to make, please approach this table, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes per topic. Any public comment this evening? Next, we will consider the consent agenda, which was submitted for March 19th, 2024. It includes approval of the minutes dated March 5th, 2024, consideration of FEMA-funded 25 North Delaware Avenue elevation payment certificate number 4, certificate of appropriateness 24-02 20 South Main Street sign, event permit river cleanup celebration South Delaware 421, event permit Yardley 5K Afton Ave, North Delaware, towpath 621, event permit second annual self-care at 40 South Main Street on 9/8, banner permit Memorial Day, Memorial Mile and 5K, banner permit Harvest Day, banner permit American Legion Oktoberfest. Does anyone wish to remove an item from consideration on the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel-Morris, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. Discussion from council? Discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously 6-0. Are there any issues with the finance report dated March 19th, 2024? If no issues, it will be accepted as submitted. Might set a record, y'all. All right, general government. This is a working, okay, I will continue to preface. This is not a normal business meeting of council. This is a working session. This is a new model where the first meeting of every month, we have our normal business meeting. The second meeting of every month, we rotate topics in a working session format so all 7 members of council can work together and greenhouse ideas. So the first item for our working session tonight is from general government, first quarter budget versus actual analysis with Don Carlson.
Working session also means informal, right?
Yes, as long as you use
Get rid of
the
these
microphone.
tables, sit in a
Yeah.
circle.
Anyhow, what I wanted to do, if you could put the first slide up, what I want to do is just remind everyone how we created the budget for 2024. And now we only have numbers through February, but a lot happened to the end of last year. So I want to show you the effects of the end of last year on how we get started here in 24. So to remind you, we all sat in here on October 17th is when we rolled out the budget for 2024. Had lots of discussion on it. So, but basically, the numbers that we used and everything were based on really the end of September, maybe some were the end of October. No, they were all end of September. I take that back. But one of the key things in our budget was we projected that we were going to do well in our costs, and our revenues and our expenses in October, November, and December. And that will give us money to roll forward, basically 94,000 of funds. We're going to be better between revenue and expenses, and that's key for 2024. So I want to show you, so how do we make out on that? Can we go to slide 2, please? Okay, so let's talk revenue. And all this is this is just deltas from the way we rolled the projections that we had on October 17th, which are basically the projections that are in our budget. So a good example is real estate transfer tax, okay? For the year ending 23, we ended up 4,900 better than the guess we had, because when I sat here in October, we guessed 120, and it ended up being 125, 24.9. So that's a little pickup that helps us towards 24, and that's one example. Unfortunately, on real estate transfer tax in January and February, we've been quite low, but I have a separate slide on that, and you'll see why in a minute. So there is a worst-case projection up there of being off by 40 by the end of the year. It's a really hard one to predict, particularly these days.
And Don, this is off by the budgeted amount, not by because there was already an anticipation of a lower amount in the 2024 budget for real estate transfer tax. So you're talking about that amount being below what was already budgeted down.
Yes. And so what I'm looking at is the sum of what happened in October, November, December, plus everything's going to happen in 24. So the end of 24 compared to when we started. And I'll show you how I came up with that number in another slide. But so that's a thing. Cable fees, as Paula convinces me every year, more and more people cut the cord, and so you get a little bit less in for fees, and that's a quarterly thing. And so we already got the first quarter in. It was down a little bit, down 1,300 from the 60,000 we thought, 60,000 rate, 15K a quarter. So that might be a little under. Interest was a little lower. That's just because we paid out some things, and the money's now starting to come in. So you got to be a little careful on that. That'll fix itself by the end of the year. That's why I say 0 by the end of the year. This is my guess. One nice positive thing, police services. That's basically the chiefs had more. Abrams requested more police presence every day, opening and closing, I think it is. So we're getting more revenue for that. So I'm hoping that's going to be at least a $5,000 positive by the end of the year. Inspection fees were up in those 4 months, significantly more. And then we had some one-timers. Some one-time good things fell out of the sky. Insurance dividend, refunds from prior year. So we got some money that came from PA. Project contributions, we just guessed wrong a little bit. But overall, on the revenue, it's pretty good. 48,000 more in revenue in the last 3 months of 23 than what our crystal ball said back in October. And I'm hoping we'll be able to carry those through. So when I see inspection fees was positive 12,600, well, our budget was only 100,000 for the whole year, and last year we did 134. So that's a pretty aggressive drop, you know. So I'm thinking, all else being equal, probably do 112. In other words, some of that, the positive from the fourth quarter, hopefully will carry over. We'll see. Anyhow, so that gives you a feel for what I think. So revenue looks pretty good. So can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now we're looking at the expenses. So the two things we did, we said we were going to get more revenue than 2023's budget to help us this year, and we're going to do some things on the expense side. And I forgot Chief wasn't going to be here, but I would give him kudos. I already told him downstairs a couple days ago. They did a great job in October, November, and December. They cut their part-time hours were down significant. Overtime was down. I know Oktoberfest didn't happen, so maybe that's why. But anyhow, so he saved $25,000 worth of expenses. He was under. And remember, we put the squeeze to him last year. We went through line item by line item and all agreed on the number and beat it by almost 25,000. So I'm hoping at least half of that carries over for the year and we get more upside. We'll see. Right to know request. This one is, you can't really, the numbers are what the numbers are, but let me explain it. In 2023, we originally had a budget of 12,000, I think it was. In the first half of the year, we had $28,000 worth of right to knows, the first half of 2023. And then the spigot shut off. And from July until the end of the year, we only had 2,000. We only had 2,000 for this whole second half of the year. So it was great, and it really helped. It really helped in general. And so we put a budget in of 15,000 this year because we're on such a low pace for the second half of the year. But as most of you know, they picked up right away from the start of the year, and it's a busy season again. The numbers showing there in January, year-to-date, January and February, looks 1,800 favorable. That's just because the bills haven't come in yet. We're still in the, yeah, I know, and it's because in November and December, we had very little, and those are the only bills that trickled through. So don't get fooled by the favorable $1,800 in year-to-date. The 5,000 projection, thinking will be 5,000 bad, 20,000 instead of 15. That's just me picking a number out of the air. I don't know. We got to watch it. We just got to watch it and see what happens and do everything we can to hone the scopes down and do what we can. But that's a tough one. Engineering was disappointing. The combination of engineering grants and the stormwater management reporting kind of stuff ended up 2023 10,000 higher than what we projected in October. So that was disappointing. We did, but we did have one grant that was a good one that we went after. It was the right decision to do, but anyhow, so that's a headwind. And then again, it looks favorable so far this year. It's just most of the work that's come in, most of the bills we've gotten so far this year have been for escrow jobs, where it's not general fund stuff. But I think there's a serious risk that will be 10,000 under, because his budget is 25 for this year, and he was ended up at 32, I think, last year. So taking another 10, having him overcome another 10,000 would be hard, I think. Insurance, when we sat here in October last year, we consciously went out and got multiple companies involved because we knew that insurance was going to go up. We thought it was going to go up. Now, at the time we did the budget, we had a favorable quote. We had reason to believe that we were going to at least be flat or favorable. But when the dust all settled, we weren't, and it's because of our experience. The new guy who was quoting didn't have the, what do you call them? Some records pull, I forget what they call it, the experience records or whatever, and when they pull those, because of some costly cases that were going on, that's where our rates were. The difference in the quotes were dramatically in that one area. So it ended up going the other way a little bit. Last year was a little more expensive, $1,300, not that big, but it's going to be $11,000 higher than last year. And the number is 78,000. So it went from like 69 to 78 or something like that. No, 67 to 78 in 1 year. That's like 16% hit.
And we receive annual quotes, or?
Yeah, it's an annual. Yeah, it's
So it will
annual.
go up again next year.
Yeah, and the thing that's a little frustrating about it is the way they do it is skewed way towards the end of the year. Let's firm it up. It's September 15th, so it's a known number for the next year. I'm going to try again this year, see if we can do that, but that would be much cleaner, because once you under contract for a year, you know what it's going to be, pretty much. So unfortunately, we didn't really. We had to plug that in post budget kind of surprise.
Not just us. I mean, that's been.
No, and one of the reasons we consciously went out to try to bid that around is because I've been seeing it on my own personal insurances. It's happening. Everybody's talking about it. So I was hoping by having more competition in there, it would offset the increases, but then obviously it did.
Well, it might have, because I think in some cases, like I'm hearing 20 to 30%.
Oh, yeah, so maybe my 16's a little better.
You save 5% or something, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm lumping together some of these categories to make this be a 30,000-foot view, but building maintenance, public works stuff, was good for the end of the year. She didn't call in help too often. The light bulbs here were changed out by Paula, so he didn't call anybody, so saved a little money. But it's a little heavy now because snow. All of a sudden, we've gone a year and a half without having any snow bills, and all of a sudden, some of that's coming into play. So, but hopefully now, March is over. Hopefully, we have no more snow no more snow for this year, I hope. Code enforcement was just, and planning and zoning was just a little lower than we thought. Solicitor, not much there yet. It looks like we're saving money this year. It's just we haven't gotten any bills of significance yet. So on the expense side, again, we did pretty well, primarily because the police department went way under, and it offset the engineering problem for 2023 and most of the other stuff, so we were 12,000 to the good. But I think quite a bit of that's going to get eaten up in the full year projections, primarily engineering and insurance. And the wild card will be right to know. Okay, next slide, please. Don't worry, I only got 2 more slides, and then we can have for general talk. For those of you who may not look at real estate transfer tax, I just wanted to show you the analysis again. The money we get when homes sell in the borough. The first columns are how it came in last year. So if you look, the average per month that we got in the first quarter of last year, which is defined as December, January, February, because the bills come 1 month later, was about $6,800 a month, and it's within 100 of that now, 67, 68, see it over there. So we're starting off with the same numbers that we started off last year, but we had a rally in the middle of the year and towards the end of the year where we were averaging 12,000 and the back half of the year. So I'm just being nervous. That's all. I'm not saying I know something that it's going to be pathetic. We don't know that. So all I did down the bottom is I just prorated it, we're at 25% of the month's done because we have 3 months of data in, and we're at 17%. You prorate that out, annualize, it says you have a $39,000 problem, but hopefully it won't continue at that rate. But you don't see a lot of properties on the market, though. And in my development, there's none. And we contributed 8 last year at pretty high numbers. The 8 houses at over 4,000 a hit to this number. So hopefully there's big sales going elsewhere. But that's how I guesstimated at the hopefully worst case on the real estate. Next slide, please. Last one. The one other thing that I wanted to, I can't remember if I put this up I don't think I put this up during the budget. The good thing that was started a year and a half ago was going to Pliget and getting that interest rate. We're up over around 5.1%. But unfortunately, some of the funds, the first 8 or 9 funds up there that says restricted, we get interest on it, which is nice, but it goes just to that fund, so we can't go apply it anywhere else. At Liquid Fuels, it was the winner so far this year. The actuals, we already got $1,800 in interest on it. And then the ones on the bottom, general, government, cap projects, reserve, emergency, those are running a little behind what we expected. To remind everybody, last year is when we took advantage of the windfall. Because 2022, we didn't know, no one really knew how interest rates were going to go up. We only budgeted like 12,000 and saved. It's a very small number in 23. But we ended up at $85,000 in 23. So this was another one of our big sources of extra revenue was this. But now this year we still backed it down. We made the assumption that the first half of the year would be at 4% and the second half of the year would be at 3%. That's like a and we were at 5 when we did that. So that's over a 20% reduction in rates. I know lots of people would like to see the rates go down for mortgages and stuff, but, you know, we're still hanging in there. I bet you half of the year will still be over 4%. So anyhow, so there's a little bit of risk. But the other thing too, you have to remember is the coffers are relatively low. You know, the collections aren't in, we don't have a lot of money in yet. And we just got some money in, but it wasn't in this yet. So, and when all those grants get approved and start rolling in, then the interest still, it's a double whammy, it helps. So I guess the takeaway, so I just wanted to, I'll stop here and we can talk other topics around this, but I want people to at least feel that, okay, we more or less did what we said. There's some puts and takes. The budget's not, we're not in real trouble yet. We have some pockets where we are. But the one-time bonus babies that we had in 2023, we kind of ate them up, and that's why we didn't have a tax increase, because we just applied the good stuff we did last year to here, and now there's not as much room, unless some good surprises come out of the woodwork. There's not as much room to go get more, either on the revenue or less cost. So
it sounds like the takeaway is we're doing okay, but Dawn is stressed about some of the projections. I would just, for new folks who don't know, say that we are allowed to open up the budget at any time during the year. So if we get to a point where we feel like we're so far askew from what we voted on in October, it might make sense to correct the record so we're operating off of a budget that more accurately reflects reality. And I think that was a good practice that you did in October with the police budget. Just because we voted on something doesn't mean we can't ask for it to go down mid-year on the expense side. So I guess my question or a comment or discussion topic would be, is there any other areas that we feel besides the police force that we should be having those kinds of line-by-line reviews? I know we've pretty much cut everywhere we feel we can cut, but has general government highlighted any other areas?
no, because we went after them last year too. They just weren't as big a spotlight on because there weren't as much, we did the little.
For example, what were some of the other ones last year?
Well, we did the payroll switch. We did, what other pockets did we get? I don't remember. Just when we went through them, we started with the August numbers and then with the September numbers. And we were pretty stingy on the roll-ups of what people said they wanted. The wish list got whittled down significantly. I think one of the concerns is we really don't have, there's not a lot of, once we write the final check for Yardley Bridge, there's not a lot of project things going on where the money is here and we're working on. I think we have to be careful, make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves on phase 3. We got that money. I want to make sure engineering doesn't, I think we should really shut the spigot off and say, don't do any work on it at all. But I don't know. Other than that, I can't think of any real areas that we can instantly go after.
I know that this might be jumping the gun a little bit, but we do have a relatively significant amount of money past due from residents on certain bills. So Manager Johnson had, through the consortium, located a collection agency different than our current process that's supposed to have a very good return rate. So I don't know if we wanted to check temperature among this council about that, or if you have any updates on that front. I know that you were going to reach out.
And we did. We had a Zoom with the potential new collection agency. They're a little bit more aggressive than the one we're using right now, but they have a great rate of return. they, I don't want to say go after, but they're a little bit more aggressive. And I think it would bring in a lot more income for people out there that are a little lazy with some of their bills. There is a threshold, like we have to give them a certain amount of accounts, so, and then this way they won't charge us anything. If we don't give them a certain amount of accounts, then there is like a $1,500 charge, which I said that's a lot for us especially. So, but it is something that Patty and I are looking into, we're watching closely. We do have the next quarter of trash bills already ready to go out, so the numbers are starting to add up, so I think it would be something that is fiscally responsible for us to do. We can't allow people not to pay their bills.
Can you give us a sense of the amount and all, because, you know, when debt gets old, it's kind of the likelihood of it being paid goes to close to zero, whereas when it's fresh,
Right.
you have
What we used to do in the past, we used to put liens on people's properties. And we did have some liens that, because people sold their properties, that we did get final payment on. But unless you go and pay a solicitor to go and call the lien, we're not going to get anything. Amount-wise, I can give you that tomorrow. I don't.
Also, it means you have to wait till.
But it was almost 7,000 just for trash, and that's
Yeah.
the other categories that we have.
Right.
And then, yes, we talked about, Manager Johnson and I, like, we don't want to send to collection something that maybe is only like 6 months past due, but we also, the really old ones, probably low likelihood they're going to be paid, so it's that sweet spot of what sending to collection. So, I mean, all these things will add up in helping the favorability of our budget, so.
Yeah, that's true. And even just different eyes, I think, you know, when Christine upstairs, I think she's taken the time to take away excuses people have, making sure the bills are really there, and has helped get some improvements just out of that.
Right, she's great at communicating with the taxpayers that have questions.
Right.
She's a little more aggressive than our previous were, where if people come and say, we never got our bill, she lets them know that it's your responsibility to pay your taxes every year. If you don't get a bill, you got to come and ask us. It's not our responsibility to remind you all the time. But she does send year-end and throughout the year letters saying, hey, we haven't received your tax bill. It's going to go to collections if you don't pay it. And she has been getting some return on that. Our 2023 per capita and occupation and business privilege delinquents did go to Berkheimer just recently. So people are going to be starting to get letters. I think they're sending them out Friday. So we should start to get some of that. It's not a huge amount, but it's still something. Every little penny counts for a town like ours. My biggest concern is our building. And I know I keep harping on this, but it keeps raining on the policeman's head. We have been getting some pretty considerable rainstorms recently, and it's coming in again. So it's something that we really have to start talking about. It's probably going to cost us, it could be a couple $100,000 for the roof. It's the flat roof that's over the police department. So we have to keep that in mind on when we're talking about other projects that we want to do. We have to really protect our building and take care of everything that's here as well, so.
This is sort of somewhat sarcastic, but also somewhat serious. Did we get the roof checked for hail damage?
We did not, no.
It's worth having some people come out because, I mean, if they find something, we could at least maybe get a partial or full replacement. Everyone in the area is doing it. But, I mean, if there's no damage, there's no damage, and we just got a free, estimate.
Okay. That's a great idea. All right, I'll call.
You said the number was $7,000 due for trash?
For trash.
Yeah. How many households does that equal, approximately?
It's not that many. I want to say maybe 25, 30.
And you said normally, and maybe I missed this, that in the past, it was done by liens,
Yes.
but we know that that doesn't always work, especially if you have to wait till they move to get the lien. Could we do something similar to what Christina's doing?
We do send out reminder letters, but people don't fear us. People don't fear us mainly because she's the tax collector. You don't pay your taxes, your property's going up for tax sale, where for trash, we can't do that.
Are we
And we
allowed?
can't stop services either. because
No,
it's a
I'm not
health
going to
risk.
suggest that, but it's not a letter, then a call?
We try. There's a few of our residents, they're just not responsive. It's almost like they don't care.
And is that public information?
I don't know, I would think so.
Because the wall of shame is very effective
Yeah.
You could
sometimes.
probably write to know it. It would be redacted, though, I assume.
It
I
might
was just,
be,
yeah, I just was curious.
But I think this new company that we've been talking to, I do think they would be successful.
But, sorry.
They walk through their process. There's something different in their process. So if I was if I was a non-payer, right, would their interface with me as a non-payer be different than the current collection agency? Is there some different approach? Is there some?
I think their wording is a little stronger.
Okay.
And I think coming from a law firm like they are, that specializes in collections, is a little scarier. And then they start tacking on fees as well. So they send out like a friendly little, hey, guess what? They retained us to come after you for your trash bill. If you don't contact us by a certain date, here's what's going to happen next and how much they're going to be adding on and stuff. So they're a little bit more aggressive, and I have seen some people complain on Facebook. Pennsbury School District uses them. I believe Lower Makefield started using them as well, but the people that are complaining are the people that aren't paying their bills. You won't know their name if you pay your bills. It's simple as that.
And you said that it had to be a minimum of $1,500 in billing, is that what I heard? you say?
There was a threshold that we had to meet, so it's
So
close to where that is,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds effective.
Yeah, so, and for folks who might be watching this live stream wondering why we're spending 20 minutes talking about $7,000, I mean, we're to the point in our budget where that's the amount of money that we have to wiggle with. Not a lot left to cut. We obviously are targeting the grant line item, trying to do most of those in-house, but otherwise it's a pretty skinny budget. Any other thing else on the general government Q1 numbers front?
I want to just mention about the roof, because I didn't realize it's that expensive. But if you're talking about a few $100,000, the grant that I was sending around, the COVID-19 public buildings, I forgot the exact name of it, but I've sent it to you. That one is, the minimum is $250,
Right.
right? So, and it's no match. And it's for public buildings that it's to increase the serviceability of a building to the public. So I was looking for other buildings, like thinking, could we stack the annex? Could you sit with the barn? But if we have 250 right here and you have estimates for it, we should write that in-house and send it out. I mean, I think that money is kind of like, it's the last of it, and they're trying to get it out there, and it's a legitimate need for it. So, especially if you can get free estimates that we could just include and write the answers. And I think to be able to write something like that in-house, we need to get good at that, because then we can be applying for things like this. We don't get it, well, hey, we tried, we learned something. Next time we'll do a better job. But if we do, that's amazing.
Okay.
I forgot about that one, but that's a good idea.
I think it's like due in April, so we've got to kind of get moving on it, but it's worth it. I mean, even for just for Borough Hall to come up with enough projects. I threw some ideas on that spreadsheet.
Okay.
throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don. Next, we are going to turn it over to Community and Economic Development to talk about Spearhead Project Earth, Yardley Borough, mashup on river cleanup.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to present from here if it's okay, because I want to use my computer. Okay, thank you. So, as President Thompson said, I'm here just to kind of give a more, maybe a little bit more detailed presentation on the scope of the watershed cleanup event and celebratory event that's sponsored and coordinated by Spearhead Project Earth. Last year, we were offered a $10,000 grant. I was very excited, and I knew that I could kind of pass it through to a nonprofit whose goal was environmental cleanup, watershed cleanup, and education about environmental issues. So we have a local organization, a nonprofit called Spearhead Project Earth, which is located at 10 North Main Street, taking up most of the, well, not the nonprofit, but the company's taking up most of the grist mill. This is the nonprofit portion of their initiatives that they deal with. Normally, they're a design and manufacturing company for packaging. And so they know better than anyone how plastic has become a major problem, especially for recycling, because I've been looking at the numbers, and frankly, they're not impressive. Less than 20% of plastic can really be recycled, and even then, there's reasons why the percentage of plastic that can be recycled can't, because of things like the containers are dirty, or food grease and whatever. I'm not going to get into all the details. But that being said, the original grant is from the American Water Charitable Foundation, which are the people that we get our water from. This is their charitable foundation. We got it via the Delaware River Greenway Partnership. Those are the persons or the organization that approached me. And so I contacted Robert Catalano, who accepted on behalf of his nonprofit, Spearhead Project Earth, and he is the executive director. And that's a little bit about the history of the grant. Now, how to spend that. So, over the last several months, a few of us from the borough, Ori Feiner, myself, and Caroline Thompson, have met or spoken to them either in, personally, in person, or Zoom calls, or I've been attending their executive board meetings. So what Spearhead Project Earth has proposed is a multi-day cleanup, and that includes trash and not specifically, but including, of course, plastic, which gathers on our riverbanks. And if you walk down to the river and you look over, you can see trash, you can see plastic collecting there. And then, in addition to the multi-day cleanup, we have worked with our Yardley Borough Shade Tree Committee about plantings, including wildflowers, indigenous wildflowers that are appropriate for this community, and also shrubbery. The event would culminate on Sunday, April 21st, with the celebratory event that I spoke of earlier, that is to educate the community about preserving nature, including our waterways, to teach people about the importance of being good environmental stewards. So the idea is not just to have a one and done, but to actually educate and to continue looking for other grants and opportunities to continue doing, environmental cleanup and beautification in our area, and hopefully, because this is a great organization, to continue working with them. The project manager who we've been working with is Jared Collingun, and I just wanted to mention his name because he's the one that I've been working, and Orion, I've been working quite a bit with. What I've done here is I've broken it up by day, and the days are, 4 days, not including the celebratory event. So one other thing that's not on here, and I'll mention it in passing, is that it was suggested very highly by the Shade Tree Committee, our arborist, Jack Scratchard, that one of the trees down by the location needs some pruning and trimming, and there's other shrubbery and trees that need the same. But in this case, it's dangerous. And so Jared has worked very diligently and found a company that was willing to discount the cost, and they'll cover it within the money that's available from the grant. I would hope that we could do that before the first day of the cleanup, just to make sure that everything is safe for everybody. So on day one, clean up the debris that's down there, cleaning up the trash, recycling along the riverbank, and preparing the garden. No one will be in the river, just to be clear. I just wanted to state that because there were some questions. It's just along the riverbank. Day two, power washing and cleaning the pavers that exist now. And the gardening preparation, I believe that's just, digging up the area that needs to be prepared for the plantings, and that could be both the wildflowers and shrubbery. Day three, the gardening itself, adding those, like I said, indigenous or native plants, composting and mulch, with the assistance of the Yardley Borough Shade Tree Committee. They've committed to that. Plants and shrubs will be delivered in the morning. I wanted to make one other point that's not on here, is I've been in touch on a couple occasions with Commander Ted Smith of the American Legion. They have been responsible in the past and continue to be of the maintenance and upkeep of the War Memorial that is adjacent to the area that we are doing our work, and he is and the post is completely supportive of this event, especially because it will help with the beautification of this area for the residents and people visiting town to enjoy. Why I'm also mentioning that is that we've heard today that they've agreed to help continue the maintenance on the area that we're going to be doing, not we, but Project Spearhead will be doing the plantings, and so we're assured between the two organizations that it will continue to be in good repair and condition. Day four, finishing touches on the garden. That was, so I guess that's just a walk around and make sure that everything's been done right, that all the trash has been removed, and everyone's happy with the results of the project. I'll open it up to questions because that's what I have.
I feel like I remember when Jared was here last time that he said the grant wouldn't cover the pruning of the tree. So or did I just hear that wrong?
No, we've checked, and it will.
Okay.
And I'll just add for you that I spoke to Paula earlier and about just, there was a question, is there a tree trimming budget? The borough doesn't have a tree trimming budget. It's a shade tree thing, but that budget, it's pretty low. It's used to buy the trees, so we're going to have.
They only provide trees.
Well, I think they can trim.
Do some, like our street trees, they'll go through and trim that, and the ones down at
Okay.
Fitzgerald Field as well, they will trim that,
Yeah.
because they're smaller, they're not big huge trees
Yeah.
that they can't handle, they can pretty much do it themselves.
Yeah, so the point is that, we're going to have to use it from the grant.
Apparently Jared is listening to us.
Oh, perfect.
He's been texting me, so I shouldn't have ignored it. Let me just open this up. So
So our live stream is working then.
our live
Good
stream
job.
is working. Hi, Jared.
Just so everyone is not concerned about trees on borough properties, I imagine if we had an issue with a tree falling or dying, that was an emergency, we would pull from the emergency fund to handle that.
Yeah, and to be honest, Mr. Scratchard said that the tree is not, it's not perfect, but he insisted that it shouldn't be removed at this time, that only the pruning or trimming, whatever the technical term is, should be done because it is still healthy enough for the time being, and it would be a shame to lose the shade. And of course, it would add to erosion. So he strongly suggested to just do the work that was necessary to make it safe.
Something that Councilperson Scherer brought up in our leadership call is about potential overcrowding if we have too many volunteers.
thank
Because
you.
it's kind of a small space, so I guess there's a couple options. One would be do a sign-up genius, have shifts, so we know, we have a maximum of 6 people on that embankment since it's a little small, or having like contingency plans of things they could do elsewhere.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. In my discussion, we're talking about no more than maybe 10 people at a time, but some of those people are actually, the project managers. And so as far as volunteers, it would be close to that 6 number that you've mentioned. And yes, they do have a sign up on their website, and I've been sharing their posts.
Excellent.
I saw somewhere that they're expecting 50 people?
That is, that's a typo of the largest, it's, I don't mean the largest amount, it's not correct. That
Okay.
should have been like half dozen or 6 or something, I don't know.
Well, for the celebratory event that we voted on.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it is more.
I'm sorry,
That's not
I apologize.
That's not the cleanup.
Oh,
Like
Yes,
a ribbon cutting.
where does the celebratory?
I'm going to get to that, I'll get to that.
I have another question first.
Okay,
before you
yeah.
get to that. You said that they would be cleaning up down along the riverbanks. So can you get to the riverbanks from that area safely?
Not without walking through this mound of,
So how are you going to clean up the riverbank from, plastic and trash if you really can't get there?
well, is he going to ping me?
This one?
I don't have a answer for you. Mr. Finer, you,
He's aware, he's very aware of the terrain, and they do this kind of thing, so I'm sure people
So
won't be falling in.
Yours won't be going if you need somebody that is more.
I would leave it as, this is what they do. They've done it in Burlington Island, and they do this kind of thing around the river. So, they're running the event, so I trust that they're.
I do know that they will not
They don't want
be
people
in
falling
the
in.
water. That's for sure, absolutely not.
Yeah.
If they do go near the water, then it would have to be through the brush that's there. But I feel comfortable that there's plenty of people there, that if there's an issue, we'll be able to handle it. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, since I'm assuming then the professional people that have been doing this will be nearest to the riverbank, but then do they have an insurance policy to cover that? Or
Yes.
Because if someone falls in the river, having plenty of people nearby doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's the same insurance policy that they,
Yes.
same insurance policy that they provided with the.
I don't mean for the celebratory event.
No, but it's the same insurance.
All volunteers will have to have
Oh.
swimming lessons
That's
beforehand.
not, I mean, the
Yeah,
parents
no.
asked and their stuff.
Yeah, it's,
No,
I'm sorry to.
and certainly, we take this very seriously. I had a long conversation with the mayor about this, and, I explained some things, and we all have a, understanding. what is safe, what is not safe. But I wanted to finish off that they do have I forgot what they call that, a waiver form that they have used for Burlington Island. And, again, the idea is that the people that will be volunteering aren't, children, but, responsible adults. And between all those things, I feel comfortable.
Yeah, I saw the inquiry that you showed me that you received from somebody who's part of a group, professor or something that's part of a group, but they do these kinds of cleanups that wants to help. I think these kinds of things attract people who do this, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get very knowledgeable people. But it is open to all levels. But I don't think like a 16-year-old with a shovel is going to be sent down
No,
to the river.
no, not at all. I'm sorry, I'm losing track here. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about the tree. And finally, the celebratory event on Sunday, April 21st, is just meant to be a culmination of the project, but also not an ending. It's actually part of a beginning, like I mentioned, that we want to continue working with these organizations, whether it's the Greenway Partnership, the American Water Foundation, or Spearhead, that we can continue doing good things for our community without cost to the taxpayer. And I think we will achieve that with this first event. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe I wasn't understanding. I thought, and some of the things that I read, that they were actually going to have dates to do this like in the beginning of April?
Correct.
It's a celebratory event when it's over, when everything's done?
Yes, correct, April 21st.
So that'll be finished by then?
Oh, correct, yes.
It's a ribbon cutting to the new
Well, I always
beautified
think of a
space.
ribbon, I wasn't sure if the ribbon cutting was in the beginning.
No,
No, it's a
no.
good question, but I think they're
Okay.
envisioning it as a ribbon
Okay.
cutting into a not overgrown
They-
war memorial. Yeah,
Yeah, we want them to see the beautification.
See what you've done.
Exactly.
good question. All right, any other final comments on this? Thank you, Councilperson Applebaum. Thank you, Councilperson Finer. Thank you, Jared Colligan, who's listening.
And Spearhead Project Earth and American
Yeah,
Water. and,
correct,
yeah,
but-
all the parties, yeah.
Directly thanking the people who we
Yeah.
talked about tonight, without forgetting anyone.
Jared says, thank you, Caroline, for signing up for the event.
I did just do that while we were sitting here, and
Nice.
I was twofold. I was checking the liability section, and it was exhaustive, so that's good. All right, anything else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion was made by Councilperson Siegel-Mara, seconded by Councilperson Finer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:24.